And we are live. What is going on with everybody? It is your boy, Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Green Dungeon, giving it to you real raw rugged. And usually when I interview people, I say oh, we have like a special person or a legendary person just to make the person feel good, Try to be courteous, try to be generous. But usually I'm lying to that person. Not being honest with that person at all. Probably not that much of a legend. But today I legitimately have somebody that might be the most legendary person to grace this channel. You and Bobby Caldwell, probably the most legendary people. So
Okay.
without any further ado, I would love for you to introduce yourself because I don't know if an introduction I can give you could be any I don't think could stand the time of what it should be. So please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Robert Kool Bell of Kool in the Game.
Hey, thank you for coming here. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, you looking sharp today. I mean, the brother got on the button up with the silk, with the chain right there. I just got a plain white tee with a bonnet on, but you look good. You look good today, man. You look good.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. That's
Uh,
the only way. We old school, man. We got to come a certain way, you know?
Hey man, my mom always talk about like back in my day, the brothers used to put on like just saying like how y'all used to dress or whatever. Fashion is super important to older black people. That's what I realized. Growing up around older black people, y'all really into making sure y'all look good. Do you feel like fashion back then was more important to, I guess, people then now? Because y'all were really into it, it seems like.
Yeah, I would say that fashion definitely played a key part back in the day, especially, the groups coming up like maybe the Delphonics or the OJs or the Intruders or the Temptations. We all wanted to look a certain way. And fashion today has I say have a certain impact. I would say also, a little different in terms of the fashion, but fashion today is important too.
This is going to be a very strange question, but I'm just start a random year. 1972. Let's say you're going on a date with a girl. What would be the outfit of choice? Like, what are you throwing on to make yourself look good? And you go, oh, and then the girl will probably, oh, he looking suave right now.
1972.
1972.
I would probably be dressed with a nice suit, a nice shirt to go along with that, some nice shoes. Yeah, that would be the look for 1972.
Hey man,
Somewhat conservative, but
no,
nice.
no. I think that's definitely a dapper outfit for sure. But before we get into the interview, I see it's a lot going on from strings to the champagne to the records. It's definitely a lot going on back here. If you could just touch on, I guess, a couple of the records and the champagne. I don't know what order you want to go in, but I guess we can't start with the champagne. Can you please talk about that?
Well, the champagne is the Kool champagne. It's something that I've been working on for several years and really pushing now this year. I have a Grand Cru. Also, I have a rosé for the late days, and
Mm.
also Blanc de Blanc. And we'll be pushing pretty heavy going into 2022. We're in several markets across the country. The New York market, Black Hawk, Jersey is Fedway, Florida is Tuscany, Georgia, that's Savannah distribution. We're working on, we're close to closing our deal with Heidelberg, which is Kentucky, Ohio. We're working on LA and Vegas. Going, and actually, we got Pennsylvania too. And we're working on Chicago, the Illinois area.
Yeah, y'all just working all 50 states. Sound like you working everywhere
Oh, we're
basically.
trying to get there.
Well, I'm not a big drinker. I'm in Florida though. If I ever seen some Le Cool champagne, I'm picking it up. I got to. I feel like I have to try it out. Is there a flavor that you'll recommend?
Well, you said you're in Florida?
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, we just left Jacksonville.
Really?
Yeah, we got our champagne is at Riverside Liquors,
Okay.
right off on the river there. But yeah, I would say all three: Grand Cru, Blanc
Okay.
de Blanc, and also rosé.
Okay, hey, I'm gonna have to pick up all three, man. That sounds beautiful right there. But yeah, I definitely seen you have the champagne going on and just everything. I don't even know where to start from. I guess just to go back as a child, I feel like Black people definitely media is definitely very important to Black people. Rather that be music, movies, TV shows, whatever. Black people will quote movies just throughout their day of life, be like just to justify something. Somebody do something crazy, like, well, you know what they did in Harlem Nights, and they'll quote like a Harlem Nights line or whatever.
Huh.
And I think that goes back to your guys' music, Kool in the Gang, because I feel like Kool in the Gang, along with thousands of other Black artists from the 70s and 80s, was like a soundtrack to my life. You know, like I couldn't get away from Get Down on It or Ladies Night or Celebration or whatever hit you may name. So this is I don't even know how to phrase this question, but would you say that making these songs back then, did you have any inclination that these would be soundtracks to people's lives, or were they just songs you guys were making and it was like this may be a hit or may not be a hit?
Well, no, we didn't. Excuse me. In the beginning, in 1969, with the Kool and the Gang, the song "Kool and the Gang," "Breeze and Soul," and "Since I Lost My Baby," we covered one of the Temptation tracks. But when we got to where we came out with the Wild and Peaceful album, songs like "Hollywood Swingin',"
Yeah,
"Jungle Boogie," "Funky Stuff." Those songs became in various movies and sample a lot. And then we had Summer Madness, which was in the movie Rocky, uh, Open Sesame, that was in Saturday Night Fever. And there was others, a couple of John Travolta's movies, Be Cool, Ladies Night. So it's been great. They definitely have been using our tracks for a lot of different movies over the years.
it's crazy because it I feel like you guys music are literal soundtrack albums, and they're soundtracks to people's lives. Like people can like for example, like one of my like sometimes I'll do a podcast or whatever, and years later somebody be like, man, I remember you did that podcast. I was doing this in life, or I was here in life. So do people ever come to you and be like, hey, I remember when this song first came out. I remember when I listened to this song, I was at this point in my life. Like it's almost like it recalls a memory once they hear that song, back in their life.
Yeah, I mean, songs like Summer Madness, people say, yeah, man, I used to groove on that track. In Chicago, they used to do this step on it, the step dance.
Yeah.
Hollywood Swinging, of course, people, talk about that track. And of course, like Ladies Night, you know, New York at Studio 54 and Regimes, um, every weekend it was a ladies' night.
Mm.
So my wife and I came up with this idea, and we brought it back to the band. We said we got a great idea for this new album. And so what? I said ladies' night. It's ladies' night. Yeah, that's right. That'll work. There's a ladies' night everywhere, and that became a big record for us. And of course, celebration is celebration. That's played for just about everything. From Super Bowls, World Series. They even played Celebration in the space station one morning. You
Really?
know, so that's but a great song for us. Then you have songs like "Get Down on It," "Fresh," "Cherish," especially those who get married, "Cherish the Love," and "Celebrate Good Times." Come on.
I mean, a song like Ladies Night specifically will never be old because 100 years from now it's going to be Ladies Night. It's going to be a Ladies Night every single Friday, every year of the next 30 decades. So
Oh
you'll
yeah.
forever hear a song like that. And something interesting before, because I do want to go a little back early in the career, but before I do that, since we're already talking about a lot of these hits, I do want to touch on Celebration because, I mean, like you said, not only is that it speaks for itself, you don't really have to introduce that song, but I know that a lot of music from that era, from the Earth, Winds, and Fires to you guys and other groups, that a lot of songs and a lot of albums and a lot of album covers and a lot of symbolism had a lot of, spirituality behind it. It had a lot of deeper meanings behind it. And I listened to your brother talk about that a little minute ago, and he was saying that the song Celebration, it was derived from a scripture that he read, and how the angel, or how God was about to make the first human. He was telling the angels about it, and they didn't really know what a human was, but when he made it, it was a celebration, like, this is the start of something new. So do other songs in you guys, or how many other songs in your guys' discography would you say resonate from a spiritual, I guess, original, like a spiritual starting point, rather?
Well, I would say a love and understanding in
Mm,
terms of a spiritual, coming from a spiritual place, that we need love and understanding around the people all over the world. It's time for love and understanding. That's what we were saying back during that time, and still today. I mean, we still need a lot of that. You know, who's going to take the weight?
yeah.
That was another one. About things that were going on in the world at that time. Um, we had Light of Worlds. That was a song that was dealing with, the universe and more understanding as to relate to that. And now, most recently, speaking about my brother, he passed over a year ago, but he came up with a song called "For the Pursuit of Happiness."
Mm.
Him and Walter, another member of the band, and also Balewa, another writer. And he was inspired again from Celebration because when the President Biden won the nomination, they played Celebration. And then, of course, when he won, they played Celebration all over the world.
Mm.
But in his speech, he spoke about the perfect union and also about for the pursuit of happiness. And that's when my brother came up with this idea with the song Pursuit of Happiness. And of course, the album's called Perfect Union.
It's crazy because I feel like music could be so powerful. I mean, it can make you feel violent, it can make you feel sad, and a lot of, like your guys' case, it could actually make you feel happy. Like I could be the maddest person on earth right now, and I hear, I don't know, a celebration. I gotta do a little 1-2 step. I hear ladies' night. I gotta sing along. I gotta. Oh, it's a ladies' night. Oh, what a ooh, what a night. I gotta do a little.
Yeah,
I have to, because I feel like you guys' music brought a lot of positivity. And that's so crazy because you went through so many different phases, from a funk to a disco to a just jazz element. And I feel like the fact that you guys kept that positivity throughout, was that conscious, or was that something that you guys didn't realize you were doing?
well, I would say both. I
Mm,
mean, coming up in the '60s, and when we were listening to jazz. And as a matter of fact, first name that we called ourselves was the Jazzy Acts,
mm,
and then it was changed to the Soul Town Band, and then Kool and the Flames. We had to change that because of James Brown and the Famous Flames. So we didn't want to have any problem with the Godfather. So we said, well, we're gonna call ourselves. Let's call it Kool and the Gang because it's a mixture of jazz, R&B, funk, and that's when we came out with the very first record, Kool and the Gang, and it just moved on. So our music just started evolving, uh, songs like maybe Good Time, or even fun songs like Funky Granny or Funky Man, you know. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, the Wild and Peaceful album, Hollywood Swing and Jungle Boogie, funky stuff. So we just continue to create each decade, you know, and that's hard to do, but we have been blessed to still be around and come up with music that people part of their life, that people love. Our
it
last album was 10 years ago.
mm.
So this new album that we just came out with, Perfect Union, we haven't had an album out in 10 years. So we're looking forward to that. And we're very excited about that one.
It's crazy to see you guys evolve and really, I guess, change with the times, because, like I said, starting out, when you had James Brown and the Flames, which I don't blame you. I wouldn't want any problems with James Brown either. From what I know, James Brown and Joe Tex, they were like the first people to ever like go at it on wax with each other. And I heard that was crazy and whatnot. So I wouldn't want any beef with James Brown hopping out the car with his perm sweating and he kicking. Yeah, he seemed like a very electric human being. Won't want no problems with him either. And then you go from the 70s and the 80s and have all these hits. It's definitely crazy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I wanted to take it back a little bit from the beginning. Just going back and looking at everything. I heard that the first time that you ever picked up any type of like bass instrument, uh, you played a song, or you played. I think it was "Coming Home" by Ben Tucker and our baby will come home with Ben Tucker. And I was very curious, was that exactly your first time? Because how would you know how to play a song? Was it just something natural? Did you play it by ear, or is that am I hearing the story wrong? Please explain that to me.
No. I play by ear. Before the bass guitar, I used to play, the bongos and congas and stuff like that. The different groups that we had, or different sessions that we would have with different musicians. The bass started with I was at Robert Mickens' house, Spike Mickens, one of the original members, and he had his brother's guitar, and I would listen to Herbie Man, and I learned how to play "Coming Home, Baby" from Herbie Man, of course, on one string.
Mm.
So one day we were in a club, Cafe Wa, and my brother said, "Listen, why don't you uh, play that one song that you know on the bass guitar called Coming Home Baby?" And so the guy, he let me hold the guitar, and I played that one song, Coming Home Baby. And that's when I gravitated toward the bass and have been playing it ever since, playing by ear, listening to music. Charles Smith was a very important influencer for me because he showed me different little things on the guitar for the bass, and then listening to records, and that's how it went, Eric.
No, that's you're like who was it? Was it Beethoven? I mean, I think Beethoven was the one where he could just hear a song and he know how to play it. Don't even have to read the music. Don't have to nobody teach it. He just literally hears it. Then he'll play it from the piano just by hearing it for one or two times. So I mean, it sounds like you were Black Beethoven almost. You could just hear a song, just play it by ear. That's an amazing thing. And I love that era where you guys at the very beginning were kind of just more like a jazz band almost, because I grew up in a symphonic band playing the trombone. So I
Okay.
had to be so my band instructor literally every day he would play us literally songs from the 1700s to your guys' early music to a Miles Davis to a
I hear you.
Thelonious Monk to just all of these people that he would play us. And I had to kind of get accustomed to appreciating that type of music. And your guys' early career, I mean, is probably some of my favorite songs of all time. Not even talking about the hits. One of my favorite albums from you guys. I think it's a compilation album. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Cool Jazz. That's a compilation album, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That album is compiled with some of the most beautifulest songs I think I've ever heard in my life. I don't even know if beautifulest is a word, but it's a word right now. That album is so good. So I was curious if we could talk about a couple of songs in there really quickly, if you didn't mind. One
Okay.
of my favorite songs, "Sea of Tranquility." That song is
Oh yeah.
that song is so beautiful. And then to hear years later somebody like D'Angelo flip that to
Oh yeah. D'Angelo, he did a soul thing on it. Yeah. Well,
synth.
Sin Tranquility was on our very first album,
Yeah,
the Cooling
Cool in the
album.
Gang.
There was also on the Cool Jazz as well. Yeah.
Can you please just talk about how that song came about, how that just melody, how everything came about that song?
Well, that was a song that the idea came up from our saxophone player, Dennis D.T. Thomas, who also passed about 3 or 4 months ago. And because we like into the jazz thing, into the spiritual thing, so it sounded like a spiritual tranquility. It was just something that that he was feeling, and because we was pretty much still an instrumental group. We didn't really have any singers yet at that time. So that's how different songs would come up. Like Sea of Tranquility, Breeze and Soul, um, Wild the song Wild and Peaceful, which was on the Wild and Peaceful album.
Some of those songs with no vocalists are some of the, because it's like instead of having an actual human talk, you guys are legitimately just letting the instruments talk, and the things that they're saying are honestly more beautiful than anything that a human could say. Like a instrument is like a god. It's like a thing just God put on earth, and it feels like when they say Noah, he had all of the he had two sets of animals or whatever. I feel like there had to be a separate boat where God just put two sets of guitars, two sets of trombones, two sets of trumpets, because there's such a beautiful creation. And just hearing what that song did, and like I said, years later can resonate with somebody like D'Angelo with
Oh
"Send It
yeah,
On." I
yeah.
said, "They do send it on." With that song is one of my favorite songs of all time too. So, just hearing that song, what was your reaction to that D'Angelo song of how he flipped "Sea of Tranquility"?
Well, we felt that he did a great job.
Mm.
How he blended in because as an instrumental song, you have to put your various parts in there. Da 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 ba la la da da da. And he sang to all that. I was, okay, and he was more of he was D'Angelo, but what he did with Sea of Tranquility, I take my hat off to.
It's beautiful. And then on that same album, you have something like you brought up "Breeze and Soul," but one of my other favorites is "Lucky for Me." That's such another beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. I don't know if there was a specific story on how that came about, but if it is, please let me know because that song is beautiful.
Yeah, that would just attract that Charles Smith, who also taught me how to play bass a little bit, from his showing me licks on the guitar. Yeah, that was because he liked that type of music at during that time.
Mm.
Because he would listen to Weston Montgomery and the various guitarists, and that's how that whole "Lucky for Me" came up. I can see that you're a musician and said you play trombone because you come up with songs that people usually don't mention.
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
I feel like when I interview people, I like to bring up those songs because if I was like an actual artist and I made music, I know there has to be like deep cuts that people don't mention that you probably love. That you're like, man, I wish people mentioned this song more. Is there songs like that that you love, but they're probably not the biggest hits of you guys?
No, there's been a lot, like you said. Lucky for Me. Of course, Sea of Tranquility, but D'Angelo made that popular again. You know, my brother had a song called "I Remember John Coltrane."
Mm.
It was some brother Sam. You know,
Sembro
uh,
Sam is amazing.
those type of records that we just covered that one. I think that was Charles Lloyd, but we covered that one on one of
Yeah.
our albums.
Like I said, some of those songs where there's no vocalist, the instrument is could be more beautiful than a vocalist ever could be. And I guess kind of going through progressing through the career, you brought up Summer Madness, also Winter Sadness. Hey, Winter Sadness. That song is beautiful as
That
well.
was DT
Beautiful.
again. DT, came up with Winter Sadness.
Mm,
He's the one singing all that. You know,
really?
yeah, that's DT. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he was tearing it up on that. He was tearing it up on that song right there. And
Oh yeah.
going to Summer Sadness, that song right there, that's I feel like that's one of the most iconic songs of all time that people might not even know that you guys made. They just hear it so much in movies and TV shows or whatever.
Oh
They don't
yeah.
even
Yeah.
put an artist to it. That
Right.
song is great. But before you talk about it, I do want to ask you a question. You get right into it. I feel like that song has been in every black movie where there's like a sex scene in the movie. So my thinking is, did you guys make that song thinking this was going to be a sexy song, or you didn't have any knowledge of that?
Well, I know I have heard that, and people say, "Yeah, man, someone's conceived on Summer Madness." having a nice time. Isaac Brothers under the sheets, you know what I mean? But Summer Madness was the tag to a song that you don't have to change.
Mm.
Robert Spike Mickens wrote that song. And then at the end, the song had a vamp. And my brother was listening to that. And he had just got that art synthesizer. He was in the studio one night and he started playing a solo over the vamp. And we heard it the next day. He said, wow, that's great. So we're going to call that. It was in the summertime, so we called it Summer Madness. That's how that came about. Not knowing all the things that you're saying. Summer Madness became, very popular, I asked Will Smith, Summertime.
Summer.
#1 record.
Yeah.
Platinum.
I want to get into the people sampling it too. Like I said, I want to work my way up until back then until now. But I have to talk about my favorite version of that song is the live version on Love and Understanding. That I feel like that version is, you guys tapped into something different. You tapped into another realm or another just thinking on that. Is that too one of your favorite versions of that song, or is one of your favorite versions a different one?
Oh yeah, we did that in London.
Okay.
Live version in London. Then we did a little swing, and then we started swinging a little bit as well. Capturing a little bit of our jazz days. Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. And like I said, those jazz days are some of my favorite days just because of when I was in a band. And we also had a jazz band. I'll sit around and listen to them play sometimes. So definitely appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, just the music you guys curated 100%. And equally love it, or even as more as when you guys got a lead vocalist with JT. And he was singing on a lot of these songs. And I seen an interview with your brother, and he was talking about how, the label kind of said, hey, this is a business, this is evolving. You guys need a lead singer or whatnot. And that made me think, was there ever a time where the actual music industry hampered your love for music? Because if I had an idea in my head and I had somebody tell me, oh, this is not going to make you money, this is going to make you money, but it's probably not something that I'm dead set on. Does that ever waver your love for music at all, or did it just keep it going?
Well, we just kept it going. We did what we love to do in terms of venturing out with our music. There was a time, though, the record company did come to us and they told us that, you guys need to listen to this producer who had just did Soul Makusa, Mongo DeBongo. And so we met the producer and we said, well, we're not really feeling him. So we went to the studio one morning called Baggage Studio. And we went in there around 8 in the morning. And we just started jamming and grooving. And by the time midnight, we had created Hollywood swinging, funky stuff, and jungle boogie. So no more pressure from the record company after that. Okay. It was all about the music. It's about what you feel, back in the day, and I guess today too, at some point, you label your music. We felt that music is music. If we want to play something that's a little country to it, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Like in Celebration, down in Birmingham, Alabama somewhere. Or we even had a song called Country Junkie. We just come up with music, raw hamburger, chocolate buttermilk. We just do what we do with no limitations. And that's why what we are, Kool and the Gang.
Came out beautiful. And I mean, just kind of touch on some of those songs like a jungle boogie, or Hollywood swinging. I think that I was never in a marching band, but I do appreciate like the marching almost rhythm to it. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but just kind of the dun 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 bum. But I could just see like somebody doing a march to that, and I appreciate that. Was that intentional or no?
Well, my brother came up with that idea, and my mother told us you know, nursery rhymes and simple melodies uh, can work, you know. And that's when he came up with the horn line for Hollywood swinging. You know, dun 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 dun. Marching bands.
Yeah.
Okay. Simplicity.
You're right. Simplicity does, you can try to do too much sometimes and it goes over people's heads. But
Yeah, we gotta try to get a little bit too progressive, you know.
well, no, like no, my fault. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Excuse me?
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, I was just finishing. It all worked, you know, like that, you know, funky stuff, you know, da 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 da, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Huh? See? That's
It
what
all
my
it all makes sense. Like you said, the simple things that you can make into, your own and just kind of, bless it unto the people. It came out beautiful. And
yeah.
before I keep going, because I almost forgot to ask you this, during this time of the 70s or the 80s or whatnot, because I'm always curious of what an actual musician thinks. Were there people in that era that were your contemporaries that you didn't think get enough credit? Somebody that you thought was underrated. So not the big stars and the Isley Brothers, Earth, Wind and Fire at that time, but people at that time that you felt like, man, these people or this guy or this girl is really good, but they're not really getting the attention they deserve. Excuse me.
Well, there was different groups. I can't think of the names of them now that was playing in Jersey City or
Mm.
New York that we felt that was good and deserved a shot and didn't have, you know, the popularity, like you said, of Earth, Wind and Fires and Ohio players or us. That was shedding, you know. And, out of that came, I think, groups like Mint Condition and some of these other groups, they didn't have the big hits, but they were definitely grooving and had a nice sound and a nice approach to their music.
Mint Condition was moving and grooving for sure. I mean, Pretty Brown Eyes. I mean, shout out to Mint Condition. Mint Condition definitely a very great R&B group. And speaking of R&B groups, so kind of fast forwarding, you guys are legends at this point. You got Jungle Boogie, you got Celebration, you got stuff for the actual music heads, the jazz people and whatnot. You got everything. So at this point, people are looking at you guys like, oh, if I ever see these people, I have to sing to them. I have to, run up to the master record deal, blah, 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 blah. And I know one of those groups were Color Me Bad, if I'm not mistaken. They came up to you guys, came up to you, I think specifically, and started singing. And you gave them a manager to manage them or whatnot. And I was curious, was that an isolated story, or did other groups that we know today ever come to you, try to sing, or people that were unknown at the time, but now everybody knows?
Well, Color Me Bad came. Uh, my wife, Sakina, who passed almost 4 years ago,
Okay, sorry.
came up with a foundation called the Kool Kids Foundation, and she wanted to bring music back into the schools. Because that's what we did. We were like coming up, play different instruments from your music class. But anyway, we were doing a tour called "It's Cool to Stay in School," and this was backed by Cherry Coke, and did 48 cities. And when we got to Tulsa, Oklahoma, this group of kids, came and we would sign, do meet and greets and sign autographs and stuff. He said, "We want to sing for you." We said, "Okay, show us what you got." And they started singing these songs that they created in a cappella. We said, "Wow, that's great." So my cousin and my other cousin, we ended up managing the group and sent them to New York and came up with this album called Color Me Bad. Cassandra Mills over at Giant Records discovered them and also the New Jack City movie was coming out with Wesley Snipes. And so we said, well, we're not going to put their pictures on this album. We just gonna call them Color Me Bad
Mm.
because they didn't know if they were white, black, or whatever. We had one Spanish guy, one black guy, and two white guys, and there it is. Color Me Bad.
Now that's a beautiful thing that you guys were, already at a level where you didn't have to do that, but you let them sing, and you were gracious enough to take them under your wing, and help them get signed, get a manager. I think that's a great thing. Were there opportunities like that for you guys growing up?
Um, well, we were again. I think as we were making our way up, our opportunities was like the Soul Town Band,
Mm.
and Soul Town was trying to be like Motown, and they called themselves the Soul Town Review, and you had the Motown Review, and we had to learn, a lot of these songs from Motown when we would back these people up like twice a month. So that was one opportunity because to get our chops together and learn Beauty on the Skin Deep and Smokey Robinson. And then we listened to The Godfather, James Brown. We put a little Cold Sweat, and There Was a Time. And so it started developing that way. And then we moved on up, and then when Slide and Family Songs came out, that was, that's a different direction there. Sing a simple song.
Mm.
So, that's how we came up.
And I guess to kind of go back to the 90s era, another thing that happened was 90s R&B. And in my opinion, I feel like 70s soul music, 90s R&B, that's like the best time for R&B, just in the quality of music that came out, in my opinion. So you kind of fast forward to today, and R&B kind of isn't the same. I have a theory why you're way more educated and way more qualified to answer this. So I'll ask you, why do you think R&B or soul music kind of took a dip after the 90s? I mean, I would imagine that you think the 90s was a good period, but after the 90s, what do you think happened? Why do you think R&B isn't the same as it was in your time, more than 90s?
Well, music changed, and uh, people change in terms of what they like and their style. Because after that, you're talking about the whole hip hop world.
Mm.
Then came the sampling, and the various groups that was doing that created a lot of your top artists today. Be it your Jay Z's or your even with Puffy, now Diddy. The Run DMC, you go on and on and on. Tribe Called Quest. It was a different era. It was the '90s, and that's how life goes, right?
Yeah, it's great. You seem just, I mean, the way you guys changed your music over time, you guys seem very receptive to change. I'm kind of like an old man stickler sometimes, where I'm like, oh, I need the old sound back. I'm kind of one of those people, but you seem very receptive to it's life. Things are going to change. Have you always been that way? Is that something you had to learn?
Well, we always kept our ears to the street,
Mm.
coming up because we started young. I think what had helped us, in the earlier days, I have to go back to Soul Town and that era, and playing these songs and playing the various music at that time, and also listening to jazz, to John Coltrane or Freddie Hubbard or Miles Davis or Ron Carter. All that was all a part of our growth, our evolution. And that's how we got to where we're at today. Songs like "Let the Music Take Your Mind." People say, "What do you mean by that?" Well, just let it take your mind. We just gonna groove, and you just sit back and you think what you want to come up with. Love and understanding, and misled. We was all over the place, man. Cherish, rhyme time people. I don't know if you might remember that one.
Yeah.
Strange places. So I mean, that's what we were, just musicians and growing up and just dealing with life and culture, and that's where we're at today.
Yes, sir. I sometimes look at what's going on now, in the R&B landscape. And I just, I kind of just revert back to, I think that one, if people can't sing as well, or if two, you're not using instruments, there's kind of no soul to it, you know? Like I was just talking about how instruments are very beautiful creatures to me. You have instruments and you have somebody who could sing, that's like a double whammy. But if you don't have either, it's like, where's the soul coming from? You know, if you can't really produce the vocals or produce the instruments to have that emotion, because I feel like instruments evoke emotion, singing evokes emotion. So if you have that, I feel like no emotion, no R&B in my opinion. So yeah, the things that you guys did, and I mean, like I said, from the '70s to Al Green to you to Marvin Gaye to whoever, and then you fast forward to the '90s, you got a Maxwell, you got a D'Angelo, you got a Erica
Yeah,
Badu, you got a whoever you want to name, all of these great,
yeah.
fantastic artists. Those people, they incorporated those things that you guys did. They were students of the game. So God, I just got to thank you guys for being the teachers, because you taught a lot of people a lot of things about music that I feel like without you guys, maybe people wouldn't have learned. They would have learned way later in life, 100%.
Well, like you said, the horns were our singers back in the day. Until we actually started um, singing. We were doing a gang style singing,
Yeah,
chants
yeah.
like a jungle boogie, or like, well, Hollywood Swinging had lead vocal to it, but a lot of the other stuff was you know just a good time, music like Funky Man or Funky Granny, uh, and I think that was one of the reasons why a lot of the hip hop artists sampled our music, because there wasn't no vocals in the way. Oh, I like that bass player. I like that bass line. And you take that guitar. Oh, I like the way that drum sound, because it was all there. There wasn't no singers. Of course, we moved on when James J.T. Taylor joined the group, and a lot of our music was open to where you can do lead vocals to it, which became songs like Too Hot and Cherish and the various songs that we did with JT. And we took us to another level. I guess they call it crossover. So we started getting bigger records, and
Hmm.
it was a mixture of the evolution starting from the Jazzy Acts till today.
And I guess before we kind of get to what's going on today with you, um, you bring it up, so I have to ask about it. How did you feel about the samples when the sampling first became a thing? Because I think you guys might be like the most sampled group of all time, if I'm not mistaken. So when it first started to become a thing, did you understand it? Did it confuse you? Did you like it immediately? What was your thoughts?
Well, I guess in the beginning when they started sampling, um, we weren't on top of everything that was going on and who was sampling what. All we know is, hey, that sounds like your horn line. Well, that sounds like the trumpet line, and so we had to put people out on sample patrol. Yeah, catch that sample. But it wasn't until, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was President Biden, the one that made that move in Washington, where you sample a song, you have to get clearance from the record company.
Mm.
So that's when everything started changing. Then that's when you have to pay for the sample. So that's where we're at today.
Have you ever met anybody like D'Angelo or somebody who's flipped one of your songs before?
Yeah, I met D'Angelo once. I think I forget who his manager was. I met his manager. I met him once. Yeah. Of course, Will Smith.
Yeah.
Other people. Yeah.
No, that's good. So you take it as a form of flattery when somebody samples your song.
Say that again.
I said, so you take it as a form of flattery when somebody samples your song.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, you heard something in the song that maybe we didn't hear. Create something new. I don't have a problem with that. You know, because we're getting paid for it.
Hey, get a man his money. Y'all deserve it. Putting all them hours.
You know what? It wasn't just about the money, but the thing about it is, they hear the creativity and listen to, well, they can take something and add, something to it, and which created, something for them. It created an industry sample, became an industry,
No, I think
and a
sampling.
lifestyle, and they told true stories
Yeah.
of was not that good, but that was what they was dealing with in the streets.
I think sampling in itself is an art, and I keep bringing up the song, but the "Send It On" song by D'Angelo, I feel like might be one of my favorite flips of like one of you guys' song. And even though kind of like I don't know if you would call it a sample, they just kind of replayed it. But yeah, just that is beautiful stuff right there, and to be able to do that, and like you said, there's no words on "Sea of Tranquility," so for him to create his own words to that,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's different stuff right there. But to kind of fast forward to now today with, like you said, you haven't dropped an album in 10 years now, Perfect Union is out. Why now? Because you said it was 10 years before the previous release. Why release in the August of 2021?
Well, we're traveling a lot around the world. There are a lot of different concerts. Played with a lot of different groups during that time period. We did 48 shows with Van Halen. We did 10 shows with Kid Rock. We played with Elton John concerts, Def Leppard, and just working. And we said, well, it's time to get back into the studio. That was for my brother Beth. But my brother was on and off the road, though.
Mm.
He wasn't on the road all the time, but he was creating a lot of different ideas and concepts, and that's what we did. And when we get together, he would say, "Oh, listen to this. Oh, listen to that." And we finally created a new album called Perfect Union.
And it's really good with songs like "Sexy," "Leave It on the Dance Floor," "Pursuit of Happiness." Like, it's some really good songs in there. So I don't want people to watch it to think like, oh, this is just like some, like they're thinking like this just not going to be up to level. It is. It is up to par. It is some very good stuff on here. So if you want a good album, please listen to Perfect Union. There's some really good music on there. I promise.
Well, thank you. I just did an interview yesterday in Chicago. The guy was saying the same thing, because we had great albums, great hits, Light of World's album or Ladies Night Celebration album or Emergency album. And how can we come back, and tap that again
Mm.
and still stay cool in the game? Because, the Perfect Union, you still hear our elements.
Mm-hmm.
We got a little, like you said, leave it on the dance floor. You want a little funk, leave it on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Ask Bruno Mars. Listen to them horn parts.
Mm.
And it goes on and on, man. So we're
Well, yeah.
thankful that people like that one.
I mean, like I said, I definitely love it. And I'm so gracious every time. I don't want to keep you here all day. So if you could just touch on a couple of your foundations I know that you have going on, please talk about that.
I mentioned earlier, Kool Kids Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing various events, raising money for the schools. We do golf outings. Next year will be our third Kool Kids Foundation golf outings. We had friends hang out with us, like Ja Rule and also Chris Tucker and
Okay.
a lot of different ball players, so we're having a good time with that, and we're looking forward to our third annual Kool Saying School or the Kool Kids Foundation golf outing.
Okay. Well, hey, last question for me, and I'll let you get out of here. I forgot to ask this. I know that your father, if I'm not mistaken, Bobby Bell, he was a boxer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a featherweight, top 5 featherweight. Yeah.
Top 5 featherweight. Did you ever consider, roughing somebody up, getting a little 1-2 in, or
Oh,
were
he
you
had me.
always music?
I was out there one time. I must have been about 9 or 10 years old, up in Elmont, New York,
Mm.
at the neighborhood house. I boxed at one time, 3 rounder. The guy was twice my size. I said, well, I don't know about that, Dad. For me, but my father was, he did over 100 and something fights, during his career. He was all down in Cuba. People like Miles Davis wanted to get in the ring with my father, just to spar.
Yeah.
My father said, Miles, I don't know if I should do that because, if I accidentally hit you the wrong way, that might mess up your career. Thelonious Monk used to be an apartment building on Amsterdam 63rd Street where they have A.B. Fisher Hall now. And there should be a gym there. And the apartment building that my father stayed in, Thelonious Monk was also a stand-in.
Mm,
And then when I was born, he asked Thelonious, "Well, I want you to be my son's godfather," because a lot of those guys were traveling through Cuba,
mm,
Dizzy Gillespie, all those guys, uh, Miles, and they were all going in and out, and my father, it's just like when the younger guys today, they gravitated towards Mike Tyson,
mhm.
and some of the other boxers. It's almost happening. That was happening back during that time, you know. So that's what that was all about. And I guess you're looking too, because the one last thing is the Kool champagne.
I got to get the Lacouche. Like I said, I don't even drink, but next time I see some Lacouche champagne, you said it's over there in Riverside. I got to go over there in Riverside anyway. So when I see Lacouche champagne, I'm gonna take a couple pictures of me drinking, just to make sure that hey, this is some very good stuff. And once again, I can't appreciate you enough for your time. I gotta thank you just for making the music that you guys did. When we're done with this interview, I will play Sea of Tranquility probably 30 times in a row. Then I might play Sombrero Sam at least 10 times in a row. Then I listen
Yeah.
to Good Times. I just listen to all those albums because it's just really good stuff. So with that said, is there any last words you got to say for the people before we get out of here?
Well, like I always say, I like to thank our fans for supporting Kool the Game for so many years, because you've been a trombone player and the music side to some degree. It's not an easy ride, man. It's an up and down scenario, man. You can get a hit record, you think you got it. Shoot, we've been doing this thing for over 50 years, and to have a fan base that's still with us, to be able to support us with Pursuit of Happiness or our new album, Perfect Union. It's been great. So we love you for that. And the other thing that I would like to say that I've been saying at my concerts now is I got to say, and I said, hey, 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 what you got to say? COVID, go away, because we want to play. We want to see happy faces around the world again, you know? So we thank you.
Hey, I appreciate it. I don't appreciate COVID. I'm with you there, but I appreciate.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. But I appreciate you
Yeah.
guys. For everybody watching right now, I appreciate it. Until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna play, and you guys holler at your boy.